What's going on? This video is a new format that I'm trying out. I have a Substack newsletter which I have been writing on. It's called Building in Public. I started building it about 18 months ago. I've been inactive for about the last year. I'm trying a new format, the video format, so I'm going to put this on Substack and I'm also going to put it on YouTube. I'm basically going to talk about what I've been up to for the past year, a couple of different businesses and decisions that took me to where I am, and some of the stuff that I've learned along the way. So, as I said, I've not had an update in about a year. The last time you would have heard from me, if you're a subscriber, I was just starting a new business. I just hired actually 2 people in the end to help me. I put a ad out. I was looking for a right hand, somebody who can kind of do everything with me in the building of this business. I ended up getting 2 people because they had complementary skill sets. One of them was a sales guy. He can do sales and setting, building systems, building outbound systems, cold email, stuff like that. And the other one was an operations guy. He did like back-end systems, making everything run smoothly. The business was basically building the marketing infrastructure for coaches, consultants, so that you had all of the assets, all of the systemization to bring people into your world, into your ecosystem, to nurture them through your content, and then the sales systems on the back end. So a whole kind of front to back marketing sales ecosystem. In hindsight, that business was a bad idea. And I'm going to tell you why it was a bad idea. Not because it's a bad business and not because it's not valuable, because it is very valuable for the right person. I chose to do that business because when I was first starting to get traction in my previous business and first starting to scale, we reached a tipping point, and I think this is probably true of everybody. Reached a tipping point where your messaging is starting to get traction, where you're starting to get a reputation, people are starting to know you, your client results are starting to shine through. And suddenly things start happening. It's like you've been pedaling uphill for months and years, suddenly something clicks and then it starts to come downhill and you're getting inquiries and clients and you've got sales calls and you've got coaching calls and you've got 1,000,001 things going on. The thing that we needed, and I don't necessarily know we needed it at that time, but when we first went from like 15K a month to about 40K a month, the thing that we needed was structure and systems, because we'd been operating in a way of just throwing stuff around, doing this, doing that. Everything was very manual, everything was very one time. And that worked to that point because we didn't really have a team around us. We didn't really have clarity on what systems actually worked. So we were just doing stuff. And then when stuff started to work and things started to happen, we were then quite quickly overwhelmed. The quality of our delivery went down, the attention to detail in terms of like following up all of our leads and ensuring that everybody who could have been set for a call was getting set for a call, following up with people who didn't buy on the call but wanted to think about it or were like a not now. All those things kind of went out the window. What we needed was the systems in place to ensure all that stuff happened. So that's what I wanted to build for other people. That tipping point where you're transitioning from being a one-person business or, a one-person plus a little bit of administrative help, a VA, whatever, into a legitimate team where you've got a sales team, you've got a setting team, you've got a coaching team, marketing team, whatever going on. The transition is, in my opinion, the hardest part of business. It's hard starting a business in a different way because nothing exists. You have to build everything from scratch. But at least it's sequential and the path forward is pretty obvious. You just build this, you build that, you build that, you keep doing stuff until you start to get somewhere. Whereas in that transition point, you get there because your messaging is starting to resonate, because your clients are starting to get good results. So you're already busy. You're already buried in fulfillment because you've got a reasonable number of clients. And then you've got to build all of these systems and all of this infrastructure, do the training, manage people as you start to bring team members on. And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how to manage a team. You don't know how to build the systems. You don't know necessarily what they're going to struggle with, because you're a certain personality, you have a certain set of skills, and the people that you bring on are not going to be you, and they don't necessarily have the same skills, they don't necessarily have the same perspectives, mindset, experience. So they're going to have stuff come up, and there's a lot of work that goes into building the infrastructure to be able to transition from you are your business to operating, managing, leading a team of people to do stuff. So that is a very valuable business. However, it isn't the business I wanted to build at that time. What I really wanted at that time was something simple, something lightweight, something with a bit of security in recurring revenue. I wanted to make content. I didn't want to do sales calls. I didn't want to do lots of fulfillment. I wanted a kind of teaching, a course-based or a community-based offer where I have a lot of knowledge that I can share. I can build the structures, I can build assets for people. But I didn't really want to be either in the weeds doing the work for somebody, nor did I want to be on the phone all the time doing coaching calls and sales calls. So the business I really wanted to build was basically a subscription business where I teach. However, I was in a situation off the back of my previous business. I was left with a bunch of debt. I was in the worst financial situation I've ever been in. We had some health problems in the family, which consumed a lot of my time. I wasn't able to work in the way that I needed to be starting something and growing something. And it was all a massive mental weight. I've been in a situation where I've not had any money before. I've been broke. As a kid, I was 20 years old. I moved myself down to London, had no money, had no skills, had no experience, and I figured it out. And the first year was a struggle to pay the bills, scraping by. I was working as a personal trainer. I'd been a shy kid. I didn't have any real world experience. I was from like this small, insular, working class northern town coming down to London where there's big money and important people. I had a lot to learn, right? So I've been in that situation before where I don't have much money and things are not flowing. The difference is, at that time I was on my own. I wasn't responsible for anybody else. I didn't have to take care of anybody else. And I never really had a lot. I was never poor with my family. We were okay. There was always food on the table and clothes on my back. But we never had excess money. I was not used to having money. And I was able to kind of pull myself out of there, just get my head down. I didn't really go out for the year. I didn't really socialize very much. I was just working, grinding, learning, upping my skills, building something, getting established, getting experience, and then I eventually ended up succeeding. The difference this time around, the biggest difference is I'm now responsible for people. I now have a wife, I now have a child. It's infinitely more stressful. When I'm on my own, I can live cheap. I can, not do too much entertainment-wise, just get my head down and work. I'm okay to do that, enjoy working. I can't ask my wife to do that all the time. She's not man, frankly. Women don't really like to do that. She wants to have some time with me and go on dates and, quality time, which she deserves. And obviously having a toddler is expensive. They need a lot of stuff. It's not the actual amount of money. It still wasn't a significant amount of money. We were living in Bali at the time, which is a relatively cheap place to live. So it's not that I had this huge outgoings. It's just the mental weight of I had to provide for them whilst being in a situation where I wasn't able to get down to work because I was taking care of the health issues I mentioned, and just feeling like no matter what I did, money was just going out of the door, left, right, and center. I had the debt going out, we had our expenses and everything for living, and no matter how much money I brought in, it just evaporated overnight. So I was in a lot of financial stress, which I've not really been in previously because I've never really had that level of responsibility. And the difference from when I was a kid versus now, I was used to having money. I was used to just buying stuff without looking at the price or not worrying about it, flying business class, doing all that kind of stuff. So it was a transition. I don't live a cheap lifestyle. We eat organic food. We have nanny to help with our kid because myself and my wife are both entrepreneurs. We're not full-time parent material. So we have a relatively expensive lifestyle because we're used to having money. So it was a big challenge, which is what led me into doing that business. This has been a quite long and rambling story, but I'll get to the point of why I'm telling it. The business I wanted to build was a laid back kind of subscription model, not really requiring any of my time on calls. It can build slowly, it will accumulate monthly recurring revenue, it can become very profitable down the road, but it does take time to build. But what I ended up being pulled towards was I need money now. I need to sell something expensive. I want to sell something for 10 to 15 grand because I need to pay off these debts, because I need cash in the bank to not be going crazy, not knowing if I'm going to be able to work at all next month. It's not that I can't make money, it's that if I can't sit down and actually work because I've got so much going on in my life, then that's a big stress. So I ended up going into this business that I didn't, in hindsight, really want to be doing. And lo and behold, it didn't work out because guess what? I didn't really want to be doing it. And I had all of these other commitments. I was probably working at 20 to 30% of the capacity that I would normally be, which, when you've already got something established and it's cruising, it's okay, you can survive like that for a while. But when you try to start something, the amount of energy that it takes to get something in motion, it's just not going to work. So eventually we made the decision to move back to Thailand, which is where my wife's family live, because we needed help with looking after our child and just general family support. Living in Bali is glamorous and it's amazing, beautiful tropical weather and beautiful people, and it's an amazing place to live, especially if you're on your own. With a family, it's very dysfunctional. The local systems, the infrastructure that they have is terrible. And it was just a massive, massive stress. So we moved back to somewhere that was easier to live and to be around family for additional support. I took the decision to end the business I was doing because it wasn't working out. I wasn't enjoying it. It was always driven by fear and urgency rather than a true desire or passion for what I was doing. So I needed something else to do. My father-in-law came to me with an opportunity. He has an online clothing company. They do custom-made suits and tailoring. So it's a big business, and he wanted to launch something where basically they take their online customers, and it is a low-cost brand. So they're cost leader in the marketplace. They have very good pricing because the factory is in Thailand. They produce everything in-house. They don't outsource it. So they have a very profitable business with low cost to the consumer. He wanted to launch a exclusive higher end line. So much higher quality, much more laborious man hours of work to produce the clothing. The kind of stuff that if you go and get a suit from Savile Row or, a very high end $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 suit, that's how they make suits. So he wanted to launch this and he wanted to do it in person, which meant traveling to where the customers are and, taking their measurements, selling them on luxury fabrics and luxury construction, and launching that business as a secondary income stream. So it took a while for him to convince me to do it, but I decided that it was worth it. I'd never wanted to work with him because it's family and it's gonna be messy, and it did end up being messy in the end, but it was an opportunity. I needed a bit of security. I needed to get myself out of debt. I could partner in the business. I can get paid quite quickly, and it was also an opportunity for travel, which was difficult because I was going on my own, leaving my family at home for 2-3 weeks at a time. But it was also exciting. I got to go to different places I've not been before and see a bit of the world that I've not been to. So we started this business and it was an immediate success. They have a huge customer list, and these people have bought suits for like $150, $200. They know them as low cost providers. And we were coming in, inviting them to come meet us in person in their city. And we're selling them $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 suits. And they were buying. And that, it's not something I didn't already know, but it was quite eye-opening. The same person that was buying a $200 suit last month will buy a $2,000 suit from the same person. Now think about what that means for your business. Think about how you can take somebody from a low ticket purchase and then sell them a high ticket purchase because they've seen the quality, they've built the trust, they've experienced the service, they've been looked after, the customer service, the speed of production, the quality of what they get, and they're happy to spend significantly more money. So it's absolutely not true that the person that buys a low ticket product and the person that buys a high ticket product is a different person. The same person will have massive variance in what they are willing to spend with you. We did this for about 9 months. In that time, I think we did about $850,000, $900,000, which was pretty good for the time. That was at about 40% profit. So it was a nice payday that helped me get myself out of some of the debts that I was in, give a bit of stability and security. It allowed my family to stabilize and be in a better situation than we'd been in for a long time. And then that took me to where I am now, which was back ready to do my own thing. I've never been somebody that works well with somebody over me. Even it was a partnership, but he was still the boss. It was his company. I was a junior partner, essentially. I got paid a cut, and I was pretty much in control of what I was able to do. But at the end of the day, I had to answer to somebody else, and I'm not somebody that likes to answer to somebody else. So I am back now, creating a new offer. You might have seen it if you follow me on social media. I have an offer where I will write and publish a book for you in 30 days or less. I'll talk a little bit about why I'm doing that. So the first time I came across the concept of writing a book, I knew what a book was, but the first time I thought about doing one myself was way back when I was a personal trainer. We had a bootcamp business that we were trying to franchise to other personal trainers. The bootcamp was successful in our local area, doing it ourselves. We had 3 or 4 running successfully. When it came to trying to get other people involved in different locations, different cities even, this was 2012 or so. So it was before social media was what it is now. So there wasn't an obvious way to generate leads and do marketing. There wasn't Facebook ads and what have you in the way that there is now. So we pursued a avenue of trying to get publicity, trying to get featured in magazines and newspapers, because that was still the place to be. More than social media, it was before people were building YouTube and TikTok and whatever. If you got yourself in a newspaper or magazine, like that was a big deal. We were spending a couple of grand a month to a PR agency to help us do this. The problem was we kept hearing, well, it's just a fitness class. Of course, we thought it was the best fitness class on planet Earth, but I can see from their perspective, potential journalists and people that could write about us were like, well, it's just a fitness class. Like, what's the difference? And that was frustrating. We were also in a business course called Key Person of Influence with a guy called Daniel Priestley. You might have read some of his books. He's still around. He's got a few books out in the market. And one of the steps in his process that he taught way back then was to write and publish a book. The reason was it massively elevates your authority, and then people start to take you seriously. Now, this was music to our ears at the time because that was exactly what we needed. We needed to be taken seriously as something bigger than just a fitness class, just a couple of personal trainers, making some people run around the park. So I sat down and started writing our first book. It was a book about fitness. And in that process, I got the structure for how to plan and organize a book, because it's obviously quite an overwhelming task. You sit and just stare at a blank Google Doc and try and write a book. You're going to be staring at a blank Google Doc for a few minutes, and then you're going to say, fuck this, I've got no idea how to do this, and you're never going to look at it again. So the structure, the organization of how to plan the book out was a massive breakthrough that allowed us to go on and publish this book. When we did, we had a big launch party, we had a lot of journalists and minor celebrities come and attend, and suddenly we started getting featured in all these different newspapers and different magazines. People were taking us seriously. They were not just talking about our book, but they're also coming to us, asking us for comments on the latest news, and so-and-so said this, and this study just came out, what do you think? And we started being regularly featured in the media, all off the back of the authority and the positioning in the marketplace that writing this book gave us. Fast forward a few years, that business ultimately didn't work out in the way that I wanted to. I had a lot to learn about business still at that time. The reason that I wanted to build a franchise business was because I wanted to be able to travel the world. So I wanted to have something that would operate at home with other people doing the do, and I can oversee and manage it from a distance. That didn't work out at the time. I didn't have the skills and experience necessary at the time to build that. But what I did end up doing was taking an online fitness coaching offer and successfully doing that online. Part of that was my own evolution, my own learning, and part of it was the market changed. Back then, when I was trying to build the bootcamp business, a lot of the technology didn't exist. Then, Facebook ads, Zoom, everybody being on social media and on their smartphone all day long, the world changed, and it allowed online business and the digital nomad movement to become a thing. So I successfully did that, and then my old business partner started mentoring other people how to do it, because he'd also built a successful multi-six-figure online fitness business. He started teaching people how to do it because people were asking him and wanting to get his advice. And then we decided to partner up and write another book, this time about how to take a fitness business online. This was in 2014, so before it was the main thing. Everybody now has an online fitness business, but in 2014 it was very rare. A lot of people wanted it, but very few people knew how to do it. So we put that book together, and it was a lot quicker and easier to write that book because I already had the experience of doing the first one. This one, because it's a niche market, it didn't have the same broad appeal that the first one had. The first one became an Amazon bestseller. We got all this publicity from it. This was a very niche market. Nobody really cared outside of our little bubble of online fitness people. So it didn't have the mass market appeal, but what it did have is it was a killer asset in our business. It was a night and day difference when somebody came to us having read our book versus not, and then they came and jumped on a sales call. I remember one story. a guy who became a client and then a friend. He bought the book, consumed it in one long night, literally stayed up all night reading it because he was so excited about it, and then harassed us for days on end. How can I work with you? How can I give you money? Don't care how much it costs. Let me join your program. Messaging us on multiple different channels, doing whatever it took to come and work with us. And this was all off the back of him just reading our book and buying into our process so strongly that he was just throwing money at us without even caring how much it cost. And that taught me a real lesson about the impact that a book can have as an asset in your business. Somebody spends multiple hours reading your book. They have multiple touch points, opening the book, closing it, the process of buying it, getting on your email list, and they're very consumed by you and your content ecosystem when they're in the process of buying and reading the book. It makes people very bought into your process. If what you're saying resonates with them, they know your story, they understand what you do and how you do it, it's so easy to go and transition these people into clients. And that's the real value of having a book, which is why I'm now doing this offer, because it is such a valuable asset in your business. After we'd written that book, a few people asked us to help write their books, which we did. So that was the process of me honing the ability of not just writing a book myself, but how to write books for the people as well. Getting the content out, helping them structure it, getting them to not actually write, as in sit down and type, but speak the content out. Because when you speak the content, first of all, it's much quicker. Secondly, people tend to write in this stuck-up, awkward university language because you've had 20 years of school teaching you how to do that. Whereas when you speak about your business all day, you speak in your natural voice, it just flows out and it actually sounds like you, rather than sounds like it was written by AI. And thirdly, speaking, when you have an idea and then you talk through it, it naturally flows into the next idea and into the next idea, because speech is how we naturally communicate. So it's very easy to get everything out when you're speaking, rather than sitting at that blank document thinking, what do I say next? Where do I go? So I developed the systems for interviewing people, getting them to speak the book out. I've got 15 years of coaching experience, so I'm good at getting people talking and getting them to say the thing that they want to say. And then getting it transcribed, getting it edited. The difference now versus when I did this then, back then, this was 2015, 16, I guess. Editing took months, literally. I was doing multiple books at the time, but it took months. And it was painful. I kind of hated it, so I stopped doing it. I think I did 4 or 5 books for the people, and then I stopped because the editing was too painful. Now with AI, it does the editing in almost instantly. Now I still do the human element because I don't fully trust the AI, but grammar, formatting, structuring, the AI does it better than I do. It's more accurate than me. And then I just go through for flow and for context and to make sure that it's maintaining the voice of the person whose book it is. So the difference between then and now is what would have taken me 6 months to produce then now will take me less than 1 month. And that is why this is such a compelling offer. I'm able to interview you and produce your book, get it out to market in your prospect's hands in less than 30 days. You don't need to type a single word. I'll give you all of the structure to be able to get the content out. You're not sat there thinking, what the hell do I write about? Or how to put it together? Or how do I make sense of all this big document? I can get all of that done in under 30 days. And it is the best asset you can have in your business to turn moderately interested leads into highly qualified people desperate to work with you. So that's what I'm doing now. That's the new offer I'm launching. If you're looking to write a book, or if you know somebody who's looking to write a book, then by all means reach out to me. This is not a pitch, so I'll just mention it, but it's not really the point of this. So I'm back in the marketplace, I'm back creating content. I will be updating the Substack and building in public, telling you what's going on behind the scenes, what I'm learning as I go, sharing more stuff. So do follow along. Let me know if you like the video format. I'm going to put it on Substack, I'm going to put it on YouTube, we'll see. Most of the YouTube is more like teaching content, shorter form. Substack is more behind the scenes. Let's see how the two go. If I choose to continue doing video, if I go back to writing, we'll see. But thank you for being here. Thank you for following and watching through. Hopefully you've taken some value from this, and I'll be back again and I'll see you soon.